The eve of the eve, Matt. The eve of the eve. Back in my days in Chicago, one of the great parties of the year was the eve of the eve at Union Station. They took over the whole place. Talk about a reason not to go out for New Year's Eve. If you went out for the eve of the eve and completely blew out your allotment of party calories, it's happened to me more than once.
Party calories.
Matt, we're gonna spend a lot of time in 2021 talking about the calories that you have to give out. Therefore, where you might want to decide where you should place those, right? Because calories come for exercise, but also emotion, your brain work, Matt. Your brain takes up a whole lot of calories.
Protein, Bobby. Protein and veggies. Really all you need.
Healthy fats.
Yep.
Matter
of fact, right now I've got a little lunch brewing up. I got some chicken thighs roasting in the oven with potatoes and Brussels. That's going to be my one meal today. And, I've been doing this intermittent fasting for 8-9 months. And, you get used to it. You get used to it, like little 6-7 hour windows of eating. And I love it. I'm digging it. Just clarity of the brain is the big thing for me. I feel good. My brain is thinking smoothly.
Matt, one thing that we for sure, you and I have missed here in 2020 was the squash court. You sent me the video. And people that are not familiar with squash, and I certainly wasn't for most of my life, but late in my career in Chicago, I hooked up with some guys playing squash, and ridiculous workout. Some of the best trained athletes in the world by far, I think, are squash players, Matt.
Yeah, some of the best rallies, and if people want to search them, there's some really great, the Professional Squash Association, PSA is what it's called, has had some fantastic world championship bouts or matches this summer, and they're on Instagram, and just watching like the top 10 rallies. Some of these rallies, Bob, are much like the rallies you and I have, right? They're about 13 minutes long.
I gotta tell you something too. Unlike tennis, squash has not suffered some would argue some of the demise that say tennis has with the evolution of the equipment. Like tennis, you don't see the rallies that you saw in the 70s and 80s. The equipment has made, the power these guys get is just ridiculous with the equipment. And that has not happened in squash because you're playing with a dead ball. So you can hit it with a bazooka. It doesn't matter.
That's right. And it's not a power game anyways. It's not about, you can't passing shots are available in squash, but it's more keeping the play alive until either unforced errors or exhaustion comes into play and your brain just, wears out. But watching some of these guys play at that level, is astounding. But I miss deeply you and I playing 3 or 4 times a week because it is such a mental break to have that game. And for the same sense, I got hockey until March and then they cut that off. And now this year hockey, as far as playing the game of hockey, again, the age of ambiguity, kids can play. They've got kids out there playing hockey, but the adult leagues are not playing here in Bend this summer.
Let's not end the year, man. Let's not end the year talking about the age of ambiguity because I'm a bit perplexed. Being a doubting Thomas and it's sarcastic to the bone, there's just too much. There's just too much.
Well,
anyway, let's talk about hidden potential. Apparently,
yes.
This story coming out, and they talked about it on Monday Night Football. Josh Allen, 1,000 emails to coaches in high school, hoping to get someone to look at his tape to colleges. I believe that's what he was talking about. I mean, he must have sent them to. And there's only 151. Obviously, he doubled up. Like, please look at my tape. Won't you please look at my tape?
Oh, speaking of, we've got John.
The guy could chuck the ball.
Yeah,
Let's give him a look. Bring in John. Let's have John talk about him.
we're bringing him in.
John.
John, we're talking about Josh Allen right now, and hopefully we can.
You're muted, John.
You got to unmute on your side there, buddy.
Unmute. There he is. How about now?
We're talking about the greatness of Josh Allen and how great it's been to see a guy like him succeed this year. Not only succeed, but for me, guys, what I love about watching Josh Allen is the freaking huge smile the kid has on his face. Every play, he's a good sportsman. He's aggressive. He's not a dick. He's just aggressive, but he's always smiling, and you can just tell, like, not only his teammates love him, but even the defensemen are like, wow, man, this guy's fun to play against because fun to chase him around.
Are you talking?
John.
Yes, sir.
Are you alive?
I'm Furman and Chattanooga just went in a halftime. 35-34. The closing number is 5.5 and 77. It's just like trading. No, so look, this is the thing, Matt always asks me about players and stuff like this. And again, for your viewers that are watching this live or later, I'm a purist. You guys wouldn't believe it. I'm in my office from 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday and Sunday. I watch no games. I literally just stare at the screens.
That's kind of like what I do with markets. I don't watch them, John, and you watch them all day, and I can't stand watching them.
Well, it's you. So whatever is not your profession is what you enjoy as a hobby. So for you're a trader by profession, so you enjoy watching sports. For me, like I have on behind you, let me try to do this. I have the Wisconsin game on right here in my office.
I thought that game got canceled.
It's 14-14 at halftime.
Okay.
But I'm getting ready to go on the radio in Las Vegas in a half an hour, and it's like I'm watching it with the volume down, barely even looking at it. And then over here to the right of me, like you said, I have the dom up. So it's like,
well, let's get to since you got short time here, John. Let's ask you about the Final Four coming up on Friday. Give us your take on the games. You don't have to give us your pick if you don't want, but what are the lines? What are the lines saying? What's the smart money saying right now?
The issue is with all these games,
halftime.
Sorry, I got the sports software behind me.
John, that reminds me of Kelly's Heroes, the movie when the general's saying, "Not now, I got the game on," with the calls in from the front.
Here's a funny
time.
Sorry, all these college basketball games. Listen, Fordham and George Washington just went to halftime. It's important. What happens basically is with all these games, all these college basketball games, or the bowl games, I'm looking at a program that you guys can't see right now because I don't know how to screen share it, but it's showing me what the majority of the issue is games being canceled because of COVID. So the problem is with all these lines, and you're talking about trying to prognosticate games days in ahead, the minute somebody gets a positive test, they pull the main player, the line moves 5 points, 10 points. This is what I'm dealing with this year. 99% of the quote unquote injuries are COVID related. Games being canceled, main players being pulled literally right before they're supposed to walk out onto the floor.
Strip club visits.
So what happens is that I can't even answer the question about what I think because I don't even know if all the players are going to play till the last second, till they stick the swab up their nose and they get the right report. Because basically, all lines now move because of COVID. That's it.
So you got to be down by the swabber on the field or the court to have the right data to make your moves almost.
So basically in the old days, you'd beat the number of betting games early. What's happening this year is all these major betting syndicates that I deal with, they're actually doing the opposite. They're waiting late because you can't take a risk. I'll give you an example. Memphis Grizzlies Nets the other night. Brooklyn Nets was a 6-point favorite right before game time. Both starters got pulled because of COVID. The line went from -6 to +2.5. In about 10 minutes, an 8.5-point move. It had nothing to do with millions coming in on the game. It just was like, COVID alert, injuries.
All right, I got a question for you. Why are the Cleveland Browns favored by 10.5? Or did I misread that? Or the Steelers?
let me go. I'm assuming you missed.
Well, is it?
Yes. The line opened up at 3.5 and is now 10 on the closing, the current closing number. Oh, I mean, I guess they don't need it, man. I guess they don't need the game.
Steelers.
Yeah. I mean, these are games like
critical notice.
The only game that really matters.
Halftime.
The only game that really matters is, well, it's just like you guys getting your alerts on trading, right?
I mute mine. I can't stand listening to it.
Mine, when something says critical notice to me, it's not halftime.
It was the quarterback from Arizona just got upgraded to probable in the NFL game this Sunday. So I get all these notices in real time.
Skyler Murray, he's playing. All right.
This feed that you're listening to, just for anybody that's interested, it's $500 a month. It's a professional. You're plugged into every casino in Vegas and offshore. You get all the steam plays, all the line moves, all the public money versus smart money coming in real time. And again, if you know how to use it as a tool, but like when I click on the NFL, for instance, let's talk about your Cleveland game. 55% of the general public right now has bet Pittsburgh plus the 10.5. The perception, obviously, it's good value. The numbers will change. But let's talk about lopsided early money coming in the NFL. 80% of the general public has bet the Dallas Cowboys -3 at the Giants. Now, the Cowboys, I actually had them last week +3 against Philadelphia. The Cowboys going into this midway through the season were 1-12 against the spread. What happens is people have a short-term memory. They've covered the last 2 games in a row. So now they're back to being America's team, and everybody's on them. So this is the world of short-term wagering that we live in, where you're supposed to forget what the teams did last week and throw it out in your analysis. Same thing with Tampa Bay with Brady. 82% of the general public has bet Tampa Bay this week so far against the Atlanta because it's under a key number of 7. It's 6.5. So those are my notable standouts. 82% of the general public has bet Seattle -6 on the road at San Francisco. And 87% of the general public has bet the Raiders -2.5 at Denver.
Yeah,
so what happens is this is all early movement. But then what's the biggest money game on the board? Over 90%.
Lineup.
Well, I'm in Baltimore, Maryland. 91% of the general public's money is on the Ravens -13 at Cincinnati. But unlike the Steelers game, Matt, they have to win the game to get in the playoffs.
Right. Interesting.
So this is now. You and I know they have to win the game. Do they have to win by 2 touchdowns? No.
John. So typically when the heavy money or the early
faded.
Yeah, exactly. It's no different than the commitment of trader reports that when all retail is long, you want to be short. When all retail is on the Ravens, you want to take the other team. I don't even know who they're playing. So
right, they're playing the Bengals. So so if you were a contrarian player, what you would do, and you had access to no algorithms, no syndicates, you would just simply say, okay, 90%, 87%, 80%, and you just fade all of them. And there's 4 games where you have this lopsided. So you and I both know at the end of the weekend, what will probably happen is those 4 games won't really make you any money. You'll go 2-2.
Right.
2 will win, 2 will lose. That's it. But the early lines that you're looking at now, the 10.5 and the 13.5, are as if there's no COVID injuries. Now, what happens when people start getting? I mean, Lamar already got pulled once for COVID. What happens if these people test positive and all of a sudden Lamar is not playing? They were a 13-point favorite, and then you bet them early, and then right before game time, they're laying 3.
John, I'm going to say this. I put money $5 futures bets this morning on the Ravens, Ravens, Bills, KC, and the Packers. I sprinkled the infield. If any of them win, I make money. If Buffalo or the Ravens win, I win good money. I'm enough for a nice dinner, $50-$60. So there you go. There's the amateur bet for the coming Super Bowl season.
I got to tell you something.
Halftime.
I've never been more
Big money.
disappointed in my life to hear anything, because talk about fading the mush. You know, Matt just put it on the Bills. I talked about it. I wanted to. I think the Bills are the best team in the league, but his $5 just cost the Buffalo Bills the chance at a Super Bowl. He's that powerful.
I mean, look, the reality is the Ravens are going up in value and the Bills are going up in value. In the end, again, I told you this, I'll say it every week. There's no excitement. It's just like when Alabama would win the championship. Kansas City's going to win it all. It all sounds nice and dandy, but nobody's beating Kansas City this year. Probably nobody's beating Kansas City next year. Again, you could have flukes, but there's a reason why they're almost even money to win the Super Bowl, because all the good teams like the Bills and the Ravens have lost to Kansas City. Kansas City has already had like 3 or 4 Super Bowls within their season, and they easily take care of business. So all the teams like Buffalo, when they're not playing teams like Kansas City, they win. When the Ravens aren't playing teams like Kansas City, they win. Everybody that's tried to mess with Kansas City so far in this season, again, anything can happen, it has lost. Now, from a betting point of view, it doesn't mean that Kansas City could win the Super Bowl, but they'll be overly valued, and they won't. It doesn't mean they have to cover. So,
Right.
you know, we're always talking about 2 different things. Winning and covering is completely different. By the way, last week, if you would have bet $100 parlay on the Cincinnati Bengals and
Yeah.
the New York
The
Jets,
Jets, what was that paying?
$1,000 parlay paid $87,000.
Whoa!
My son and I were talking about it, and I meant to ask you that, John, what the payout was. I said it had to be close to 100 to 1.
So the funny thing is, you get clients that are calling me up going, "I should have done that." I go, "Okay, well, you could say that every week."
Right. Pick the 2 shittiest teams and take the points and see what happens. See if they win the money line. Yeah, good luck.
It'd be like taking Cincinnati on the money line this week against the Ravens.
Yep.
You know, and again, so I go back to, you know, look, the point spread is the great equalizer, always has been, always will be. At the end of the season, like I said, you know, you're always in a situation where the dogs win 50% of the time, the favorites win 50% of the time, 50% of the games go over, 50% of the games go under. So, I mean, that's just the nature of when you're having conversations about betting, you know, really who's going to win the game doesn't even matter.
All right, John, I want to wish you a happy new year. We'll see you on the other
Happy New
side
Year,
of 2021. I know you got short time here, so good luck on the radio. And as always, the Syndicate Insider, best information about any sport in the world.
You know, all these
Hey,
alerts,
John,
all these alerts.
2021.
Go ahead.
2021. Matt and I were meeting you in Vegas, dude.
I would love it. I've met him there several times. Unfortunately, I haven't been there
Final.
since March, so I'm actually looking for going back sometime soon.
All right, pal. Happy New Year. God bless you.
You too. Have a good day and Happy New Year.
Final.
New Year.
Right on.
Final.
Bye.
What was the other one? Urgent alert.
Red alert. It was like watching what was that with like war games? Remember war games in the 70s? It was like
Oh, yeah.
It was the
Urgent
same.
alert.
It was the same voice from the Nashville bomber. It was the same like computer code, you know, talking there.
Man, are we blessed, Matt?
Red
Thank
alert.
you so much. We're so blessed to be able to have John on. I just, the one thing for sure that I miss is
Josh Allen, by the way,
like that.
Josh Allen did get offered, by the way, from your old conference, the MAC. Eastern Michigan did offer him along with Wyoming. Frankly, I think it would have been it worked out great for him, but you know, there's nothing wrong with being in the Big Y, Ypsilanti, down the street from Ann Arbor, and there's a lot of scouts. You know, Eastern Michigan gets a lot of players to the NFL just because of the proximity to Ann Arbor. So yeah, I'm just saying.
There's no doubt, man. There's no doubt the MAC has produced some fantastic NFL.
Like
talent.
Roethlisberger.
Yeah, one of my favorite commercials of all time. Who the Steelers pick? Roethlis somebody. Roethlis somebody. Nice pick,
I
Cal.
saw him play in the Big House like in 2002 or 3, you know, right before like his senior year. And Michigan barely beat Miami of Ohio. It was like 14-7. It was a defensive battle. We held him down, but they also had those MAC teams, those, again, they're all Ohio farm bred boys that typically stay in Ohio and play for, Miami, and they play for Ball State, Toledo, right? They just stick around and they love football. Western, Central, Eastern Michigan, it's great football. Some of the best, I think.
All right, Matt, going into 2021, I just wanted to bring this up. And the thing that I found interesting in the article,
yes.
All right, who knows what happens, but he's definitely undergoing surgery, supposedly intracranial, which means brain surgery, right, Matt?
Yeah. It means they're going to drill a hole and somehow poke around in there. But is it just Kabuki theater again?
I don't know. They had to,
I mean,
it seemed
whatever
like
happened,
it had a little.
It's kind of like the Kim Young, he was he was supposedly in a coma for most of the year. Whatever happened to that story?
I don't know.
Yeah.
The thing that I found interesting, if you think that there's a shit show developing here in the United States about a transfer of power, the thing that I really found interesting about the article was how fragile the CCP becomes in transition. Like nobody's safe. Everybody's vying for power. Things get very precarious for your life, your literal life in the party at that top echelon. I don't know. It's something to keep an eye on, to keep looking at, I think, because so much of the world now, especially with the China story, it's way more now than just trade deals. As we saw the Kyle Bass article, this major geopolitical awakening has happened. It's kind of like it's not going away. It's you can't put the cat back in the bag, man. And this would just add to an already cloudy geopolitical landscape, in my opinion.
I agree. Totally agree. Hey, Bob, I got a couple. Let me pause a second, bring some levity. I got a couple. I've got my top 3 headlines for 2020 for you here.
Right on.
And the first one, hopefully you'll find these kind of fun. They're not really headlines, but they were moments. And the first one is just, happy birthday, 40th birthday, Macaulay Culkin.
Wow.
He had his birthday, here it is, in August. And I just want to, say, if that's, when you think about Home Alone, you think about COVID now, right? So what
I don't get that segue.
What do you mean? Home Alone?
How do you get Home Alone? Oh, everybody's home alone.
Everybody's home alone. Come on.
Sorry.
So I love the fact that, he turned 40 this year. And then the other one was, of course, Aunt Becky, spent part of this new season of Full House behind bars. She just got out. So I love that. And then, of course, my favorite, though, is the Bolivian orchestra stranded in the haunted German castle surrounded by wolves for 70 days.
Oh, that reminds me of one of my best Twitter tweets I've ever had. Was a Vice article, and it was the tweet was, what would be worse than staying in a haunted lighthouse for 2 weeks? And I tweeted back immediately, staying in it with one pair of underwear.
Right. So, 73 days they were stuck in this haunted German castle. Looks like a nice place to stay if you're going to have an extended vacation. However, there's nothing wrong with Bavaria in the summer. I mean, good Lord, what a great.
Looks like plenty of rooms to spread out in, for
right?
Sure. Matt, let me share one. Actually, I don't even need to share. I know I can, but I don't need to. And this is 2020.
This describes the market, by the way, this year.
Right. I like men who take risks. I don't do any research on stocks I buy. It's just it couldn't encapsulate what's going on more. Research is what we do, Matt, when we don't know what we're doing. Let's actually talk a little price discovery. Matt, let me share, because as we speak, Bitcoin, extreme moonshot going on. Now, look at this baby. I talked about this, the potentiality Sunday night, and I want to just reiterate this fact. These bands, Matt, they are based on a moving average, right? And they move with the movement in the market, right? So especially when they have slope to them. Again, we're talking nuance here. So weekly chart, beginning of the week, that upper collar, right? That exhaustion line, which I call the collar, was more like 31,700, let's call it, right? Right now in the activity, it's pushed up to 32,550. As we rally, it keeps kicking more parabolic. Right. My point is this: I am long, but my orders are in at the 31,700 level because I have experienced too many times trying to squeeze out that last tiny bit of alpha, right? And actually look for a touch of the line. And in hindsight, if the market trades to, let's say, 31,700 and then comes off, that band is going to shift back down, right? And it's going to look like a perfect touch, where in real time, it never touched the line.
Right.
Right. And so that's part of the nuance of these trading methodologies that rely on lines that are moving with the market. Very important. Anyway, moonshot, end of the year, geopolitical, who knows why? I don't care why. I'll participate in any market, and the why doesn't matter much to me. It's more important that you're participating. Matt, let's also talk, because we've talked about this, and we're going to have some people that interact next week, hopefully, with hedging on the grain side of things. Beans in the teens.
How about
first time in a long time. And again,
we talked about it all summer. You want to be long the grains. This is one of the greatest trades of the year, by the way. One of the less risky trades that you could have made. And again, we were talking about it all summer. Buy the grains; they're going to go up. And boom, look at that takeoff right there in September. 8s all the way up to 13s. It's an unbelievable move.
I mean, it's been a while since beans have been in the teens. I interacted with a farmer on Twitter, and the thing that some people might not understand is these farmers can sell forward just like sort of like a futures contract, but they can actually sell deliverable grain forward. And he was talking about selling his 21 beans and even his 22, some of his 22 crop already. And my point to him was, and we will preach all day, that if that makes him a incredible profit margin in his farming operation, why risk it? For sure, you need to sell some. Right. For sure. I also said, though, that this is evolving into almost a generational chart. Like what's a generation, Matt? 20 years or so. I mean, for sure, this is a once in a decade setup that's happening here in the grains. And that for me, just mining that momentum line is a great way to stay in something for longer than just taking a certain amount off at a certain profit margin that's going to lock in. Listen, man, that the whole idea is locking in, taking profits, right?
Well, when you think, to your point though, Bob, when you think about this, like the price right now, if you can lock in $13 for a bushel, and we haven't seen those prices in 5 years. So to your point, why wouldn't you? I mean, it's very doubtful that we're going to be back at 8 anytime soon either. So why not take half off? And if it goes to 16 or it goes to 11, the farmer's still benefiting in a huge way by unloading at either of those prices. So, I think it's a great move because we haven't seen these prices in that long. And for sure, if you're a good farmer and able to benefit from these great prices, why not take the gains and lock them in, as you said, for a year or two or year and a half? Because the world's going to be a lot different place. We know that than it is today. It's going to be much more, I think, disruptive and chaotic.
And back to the chart again. If you look back in this is the weekly, the run in 16. Again, it just like it is here. It's really respecting that momentum line. The potentials are increasing. This craps table is hot, and there's always that dance between the FOMO and we talk about. I don't have any fear of missing out. Of course, we all have fear of missing out. You know, that's in there. But does it affect you in your decision making? Because that's what you need to minimize. You need to say to yourself, I have this strategy. I'm going to take the profits where I've established my profits. I'm going to cut my losses, and or if things start turning around, I'm for sure exiting and not missing out on the profits that I have locked in. These are the type of things, and I know the profile actually does this too. As far as, you know, we're above the big meat of the profile. I'm going to let this thing run, and then I know you use other metrics to see where, for instance, what's the size of that meat of that profile. We're going to replicate that. These nuances. Anyway, that's what we talk all the time inside marketvitals.io. And it doesn't matter what instrument, right? It doesn't matter what instrument. The price discovery is the price discovery. A guy that's great at contact in baseball in Japan, he comes over here, and generally, if he's a contact hitter, he's still hitting Major League Baseball contact. You know, the nuance is the same, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, you know, this market is kind of limping out, Bob. It's positive all day. Everything's been green, but really not much happening. You know, the SPOs are just hanging around the same prices really for the last 48 hours, right around 37.25. I don't really have anything new on the price discovery side to expose, except, you know, to wish everybody a fantastic 2021 and, you know, look back on what you learned from 2020 and make yourself a better individual and make those around you better individuals for 2021. You know, there was not all bad news. I don't subscribe to everybody like hating. I can't wait to get out of 2020. Like, it's just another date. So what does it matter? You know, make your life as good as you can in the moment, and don't worry about, you know, don't live in the past. That causes depression. Don't live in the future. That causes anxiety. And that also relates to trading. Like, you know, the reason I came up with the name Mistrade is every trader misses trades every day. Better get used to it. FOMO, better get used to it.
Right.
It's just,
exactly.
It's a natural process. And even if it's something that you follow every day and something that you think you have a control of, you're still going to miss trades. And that's okay. And you're going to have some trades that are super easy, and you're going to be sized small, and that's okay. You made money. So there's going to be some trades that, you know, you plan perfectly and you're going to lose, and that's okay. And I guess that's, you know, really all I want to say to that point is, you know, focus on your process as you come into the new year. This is a great time to work on, you know, how do I want to behave in the markets? Do I want to have multiple time frames that I trade, or just one? Do I want to trade? You know, do I want to get good at trading? If I've never been good at trading, focus on one item. Trade the S&P minis, the micros. Trade something until you can make profits. I don't care how small they are. Do it consistently. Then you can ramp it up to the second lot or the third lot on the micros or the minis, right? So everything takes time. And you know, what's his name on Golden State? You know, their guard,
Steph Curry.
Seth Curry. I mean, you think that he just decided he'd make 105 in a row at practice the other day on film? Hell no. But the guy has shot how many thousands of shots from that corner? It is like his comfortable space. And, you know, traders, I have that same type of space on my court that I can, you know, probably 6 or 7 of them that I know I can make money on pretty much, you know, and depend on, as long as there's something moving in the market, right? So but it doesn't come without putting in the work and putting in the time and really establishing where your risk is, right? And you have to do that work and own that process and have it be yours. It's not the market that's screwing you. It's not Bob that's screwing me. It's me against me. It's the man in the mirror. So focus on what you can control, which is you as a trader, and the rest should take care of itself.
I couldn't agree more, Matt. I will toot that horn all day long. I've said it for over a decade in helping people become better traders. It's not my system that I'm going to teach you. I'm going to help you define your system, you know. And back to 2020 and 2021. 2020. I mean, a lot of great things happened in 2020. A lot of terrible things happened in 2020. What are you going to focus on? And going to 2021, you know, I did a thing for Manja TV called New Year's Revolutions. instead of resolutions or reaffirmations, or, what do you want more of? And I just saw this on another cast, and it's Tony Robbins' go-to. Like what served me in 2020? What made me a better person? What moved the needle? I'm going to do more of that shit,
Right.
and what didn't serve me, who was not a positive influence in my life. I'm going to do less of that.
And I'm a big fan of, like Nassim Taleb, if you follow him and you've read his Black Swan and Anti-Fragility and all these great books that he's written, one of the key takeaways is the takeaway, right? Remove the one thing, remove negativa, the things that you don't want in your life. Just leave them behind, right? Move on, move forward. Don't get stuck in that same rumination, and let it go and move on and be better at whatever it is you're trying to be better at.
There was a great analogy that somebody shared with me. I can't even remember who, but it was because now being in the Pacific Northwest and actually doing this and the analogy was this: imagine yourself in a river fly fishing, right? And the river is so clear, and you see a fish kind of swimming with the current, but letting the current pull it back, right? And you throw and you cast to it, right? And it makes a strike, but you don't set it. And then the fish scurries and it goes downriver. And are you going to chase that fish downriver? like that's the fish that you were supposed to catch? There's more fish coming down the river. You would never turn around and risk your life.
That pretty much sounds like my entire fishing career.
But even you, Matt.
But usually my fly rod is like caught in the tree behind me too, so I got that going on.
Well, wait a second. Let me just.
I dropped my phone. I dropped my phone in the water. I got the thing of rice over here because I always drop it in the water. Yeah, it's bad.
But you would never think about turning around and chasing a fish down the river. I mean, that's the whole thing. There's more fish
because
coming.
I just fell when I turned around on the slippery rock, even with my fly fishing boots. I slipped and fell, and I'm soaking wet. So hell no, I'm not going around.
Right, exactly. Anyway, that's the analogy, man. Keep looking forward. There's more fish coming down the stream. Right. There's always another trade, and there's always another trade setup, and there's always another market that's gone batshit fucking crazy. That if you like that type of action, you can be in. Conversely, there's always another market that is dying a slow death, and you can just sell the wings and collect. These trade setups, they're always evolving, right? And there's always something for your personalized trade methodology. You just got to do that. You got to do the work.
May 2021 bless you, Bob, and bless your family, and good things happening.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to all the people that have joined in such a short period of time here to the marketvitals.io network. Please join the network. Consume the wisdom of the community, and let's grow this thing in 2021 to, and I just want to point something out that if you're watching this, because it's again, we talk about nuance all the time. The marketvitals.io site and network and community looks a lot like a Facebook private group. It's got great functionality for sharing. There's a ton of content that you can interact with. But the most important part is it's not fucking Facebook. And you don't have some algorithm deciding what you get to see and some cocksucker living in France telling you what's worthwhile for you to digest. We are an open and honest network of ideas and people, some good, some bad, some right, some wrong, but that's what we want to grow. So please join us in the new year, 2021. We're going to make marketvitals.io an incredible community for traders in their trading and personal lives of growth and development. Thank you, Matt. Happy New Year to you.
As I look out my window as your final moments there, it's just heavy, wet snow just started coming out. I'm looking out of my office here. I don't know if you can see outside your office there, but wow, there's a lot of snow coming down right now.
I'm ready for some turns, Matt.
Let it snow, baby.
All right, pal. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.